my name is Asmus Wolff. I'm the COO of Ritter Sport, as such a member of the executive board of the company, and responsible for everything from the field to the consumer. Well, the EUDR is one of three important laws that have been passed, at least within Germany, that we're foreseeing to be passed here as well, over the last month and years that are relating to sustainability topics. And as a company, Ritter Sport is a company that has been working on sustainability for many, many years. I would even say for many decades. And it's something that is basically ingrained into the DNA of the company. So for us, many of the activities that are required to comply with the laws are something that come to us quite naturally. So if I may start with the very beginning, at the very beginning we've been one of the proponents of the law. Yeah, so we have supported the EUDR from the beginning, because we feel that it's very necessary to have such a law in order to have a level playing field for everybody who is within the chocolate sector, who's active here. So when we've been asked by the lawmakers, it is something that we have put forward, that we would be willing to go this way, and that we are very positive about it. We see from our side a lot of benefits from the EUDR, and we think it's absolutely necessary to maintain our living conditions on this planet. So it's something that we feel is hugely important. We've known as well about the vast problems in particularly Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Nigeria, where we feel that the whole sector is not managed in a very appropriate way. And we fear as well that people who are living from cocoa can't live from it, and as a consequence, there are many stepping stones in the chain, but destroy their living environment. And so it is something that has driven us about 20 years ago to consider as well our own farming. And since we have built a number of farms around the world, as well cocoa farms, in order to show that you can do it in a different way. And we're quite proud of being very successful in this. And we are running, which is probably the largest cocoa farm worldwide in Nicaragua, in a full agroforest concept. And we had to build it in a very large plot of land where there was no more forest, and we had to reforest everything. So we know exactly what it's about, why it's here, and so we're supporting it. Now, the EUDR, so for us, the sense of the EUDR is really to stop deforestation. So, and we, in our heart of hearts, we believe truly this is necessary. And so for us, what is most important is that the law is changing something. So the way that it's working today is unfortunately quite bureaucratic. And there are good aspects about it, but there are as well aspects which are not fully thought through. But we will surely come to that later. So in order for a medium-sized company like ours to be able to actually deal with this legislation, and even a company like us who's perfectly ready for it, we struggle with the IT, with the bureaucratic requirements that are behind this now. So if you would ask me personally, I would have a couple of ideas how to improve the law. But now, as a consequence, I come to what your question was. What have you done to prepare yourself? So we identified a software company. It's called O-Sapiens, which has won the German Innovation Award 3 years ago. And they're based not so far away from us. And they are supporting the whole the full requirements of all of these laws that are required in future in the EU. And the software will support us to be able to keep the cost of the bureaucracy quite low. Yeah, and that is my biggest fear, that it goes too high and then we cannot support it properly and we become uncompetitive. But with this support, it will not happen. So so that's basically what we've done. We've looked at the laws. What are the laws requiring from us? We then took a stance ourselves. How do we feel about it? What do we think about it? How can we make the law into something that is in fact changing something? So is making the world better. That is what we are trying to implement in our system. We identified a software company to support it, to support us with it, and that is where we're standing. We know exactly what we would like to see from that law, and that is, in consequence, less deforestation around the globe. Yeah, so that's what we would like to see being driven, and I think that the big upside that may result from it is that more people. So we've built up over the last 30-40 years relationships which are direct to the cooperatives in the origin. Yeah, our plantation is one way of doing it. But the cooperatives that we founded much earlier, so 40 years ago in Nicaragua, where we're working with 4,000 farmers in total, that is a very good way to do that as well, and actually to allow people to have their own livelihood and to live in their own family and have their family business and pass it on to their children and look after their own environment. Yeah, and I think that's a very important way of doing it. And we know that the chocolate price in the world market is fluctuating all the time. Yeah, currently it's very high. Now at the moment, every cocoa farmer is happy. 3 years ago, no cocoa farmer was happy. Yeah, so. And that over a period of 30 years or 50 years even, because they were paid wages that are not enough. Yeah, so, or not prices which were not high enough. So what we've done is we created contracts directly with the farmers or the cooperatives, and we pay the cooperatives so for more than 90% of all the material that we're receiving. We have got these contracts in place where we've got a direct relationship with the farmers. And that is very different to every other company in the world, because nobody can say that of themselves. We're the only company who's doing that. And we pay additional money for the cocoa if certain conditions are fulfilled. And one is an agroforest system. Second one is very low use of pesticides. Third one is no child labor. Send your children to school where they belong, and then don't use as little fertilizers, chemical fertilizers, as only possible. And we help these cooperatives to reach this target. And what we see as well is that the cooperatives who work with us increase their productivity manifold. Yeah, so we're coming from a productivity of maybe 500 or 600 kilos per hectare, let's say in average Ghana, to a cooperative that can make 1,600 kilos per hectare in Nicaragua or in Brazil. Yeah, so we can influence, we can make a difference. Yeah, but the difference is not made by if you do not have a direct relationship. Yeah, and the problem in the cocoa chain is that the cocoa goes through many hands, and everybody wants to earn, but the consumer is only willing to pay so much. Yeah, so we need to reduce the amount of hands which are handling the cocoa, and we need to have a direct relationship between the brand owners and the farmers, and that's very important. And I think that the EUDR is a very large stepping stone to help this. You will see that the EUDR will come with a cost. Yeah, so farmers who comply with the EUDR will be able to charge a premium, and I think that is what is helping them most. Yeah, farmers are going with their mobile phones, their apps, and they are marking basically their land, and then they can basically support the polygon requirement, which is needed to show that there has been no deforestation in the past. So we support them, of course, with those prices, but we support them as well since years already with academia. So we're sending professors in or people in to help them to improve their productivity. And as well, what we're doing as well is I think that we help them to connect to us in a simple way. Yeah. So as well, the requirement to show that they are compliant, I think we do that in a simple way. We just need the satellite data. Then we can show with the European Union is providing a database where they can provide all the satellite data going into the past. So that's pretty easy. Yeah, it's a pretty easy way to prove that you're not cutting your trees down. And but what we are doing is, on top of that, we try to manage people into an agroforest system, because cocoa is a shadow tree, is a shaded tree. It can grow in shades, and so it reacts very positive to biodiversity. Yeah, so we try to teach people how to do that. I think that the cocoa sector is facing a very, very massive threat, which is climate change. And we've done some climate studies. We ran the climate studies through 121 climate models. And we know by now that West Africa is looking grim, to say the least. Yeah, so there will be a huge amount of droughts and floodings. Yeah, so if you don't move into a sustainable kind of system, where you don't work in monocultures, and where you work with in a very good, very sustainable way, I think you will not have a farm in future. And I think that the EUDR is helping to understand that and driving that. It's driving higher prices, and it's driving as well probably a community of farmers who will maybe work differently in future, hopefully. Yeah, and that will drive. I think there is no way around consolidation. There will be consolidation. The most natural way to consolidate, what we think for Africa, but I mean, I'm not African, so I can't really because I don't want to tell them what to do. But looking at it from the outside, cooperatives would be a wonderful way to organize themselves, to get a bigger muscle and to become a stronger player in the whole chain. Yeah, and we are very willing to support that. We are supporting the building of cooperatives, and we work with them since decades. Yeah. I think the first very important move is that you know where your product is from. Many of the chocolate companies are buying basically their chocolate from very old, long-standing, unfortunately, colonial companies, who'd been there already 150 years ago, and who then don't really, I don't think they really know to a large extent where the cocoa is coming from. It's difficult because it's coming from the rainforest, yeah. So you're immediately in something that is mass balance, yeah, and you need to build up your supply chain towards a segregated, that is a minimum requirement, segregated requirement, so that you exactly know which farmers are farming my cocoa, because that is a prerequisite to actually interact with them and to have a good relationship between yourselves, and to help them build their community, and to help them automate their farming, and to help them actually use the best farming methods. And I think that is so, you need to understand where it's coming from, and that might as well require that you consolidate your supply chain. It's one of the things that we've done a while ago, that we've consolidated to 5 origins only, or 6 origins, of cocoa. And that allowed us to work with very specified cooperatives. So my purchasing people can fly to Africa, they can fly to Latin America, and they know personally these people. And they talk with each other now every day. This is a lovely thing about video conferencing. You can talk with them. And you know what's happening. And then that helps massively. So we've got this complaint hotline now as well, so the farmers can directly address us if something is going wrong in their commercial relationship or their relationship with their employers. Number one is, of course, the satellite data. And that is a technical prerequisite that we cannot live without. So, and if we can relate always to the satellite data, that helps us tremendously. One thing I really do not want to see is that we create a huge pile of data rubbish. Excuse my language. But because we are handling all these certificates in the supply chain, so there needs to be one set of data that we can all reference to. And then we need to be honest as well amongst between the legal people and the engineers, or let's say the purchasing guys and the companies who are operating this whole supply chain, that there will always be a certain amount of mixing up. So I mean, if I look at the mixing up of the whole supply chain, at the end I will have to point to every farmer in the world, because there's always mixing up. In every warehouse there's some mixing up. In every continuous process there's some mixing up. And if we do not understand that, we don't understand the supply chain. And that is why I believe that we need a direct relationship with our farmers, because between the farmer and myself, probably 10% of his harvest gets lost into somebody else's supply chain. But I'm adamant that I'm really doing the right thing for everything that I buy. But will there be 2 or 3 grains from somebody else? Yes, of course. You cannot change that, And if we get into petty legal battles about stuff like that, then unfortunately we are focusing on the totally wrong thing. We should be focusing on helping the farmers in the origin. And that is what we have done, is on top of everything that we're doing, paying higher prices, etc. We have got programs with the farmers in the origins, whereby we say to them, if you do X, we pay you a well. If you do Y, we pay you a school, or we pay you like a tractor or stuff like this. But we really do it, and we send them the tractor with Ritter Sport on it. And we build the school and it says Ritter Sport on it. And so we know our money has been used in the way that it's meant to be used. We will see, I mean, a huge climate change now. I mean, when I talk to the climate scientists, we will see an increase of world temperature of about 4 degrees. We see it every day now here already. So we're easy above 1.5 degrees now. And we're pulling the wool over the eyes of the people, by saying, okay, we are aiming for 1.5%. We as a company aim for 1.5% as well. So we're trying to reduce our CO2 emissions by 40%. But we need now to come up with answers for 2 routes now. One route is, how do we reduce our CO2 emissions? And the second route is, what do we do to mitigate the situation? Because if currently we have maybe, let's say, 1 million migrants from Sub-Sahara to Europe per year, it will be, in 20 years, it will be 20 million per year, because there is no more food. And I think that is very, very important. And I'm quite worried about the total cocoa supply chain, and we're trying to diversify now, because I think that, I mean, the cocoa tree is extremely delicate, and we already had, I don't know whether you know that, but we had 3-4 years ago a situation in Indonesia, where Indonesia didn't export any palm oil anymore because they couldn't feed their own population. Yeah, and I really fear with climate change that we are going towards a situation in West Africa, and I thoroughly believe that action is needed now to help people in West Africa to do the right change to their environment, because if not, the environment will change without them being able to do anything. And then it wouldn't be a very nice future for our children, And that's, I think we need to have that when we look at the cocoa supply chain, we need to have that in mind. And it's very, very important that we act all together and try to slow down that climate change as fast as we can, because if not, there won't be cocoa from those areas.